Nacional Antunes Mayolo Institute. Okay, and you know that this is Unit 2, English 3, Session 4. I am Magister Rosana Antonia Borja Sanchez. Okay? Next, student, our topic for today is a and some, and also countable and uncountable nouns. That's important, that's interesting, these topics. Okay, first of all, we are going to start with food. Okay, food. We have countable and uncountable nouns. Here, look at the picture, students, and now repeat after me. Burgers, burgers, sandwiches, sandwiches, hot dogs, hot dogs, cherries, cherries, apple, apple, grapes, grapes, oranges, oranges, olives, olives, watermelons, watermelons, carrots, carrots, tomatoes, tomatoes, pears, pears, salads, salads, vegetables, vegetables, pancakes, pancakes, sausages, sausages, eggs, eggs, potatoes, potatoes, cookies, cookies, fries, fries, candies, candies. Now, here you have uncountable noun. Repeat please. Bread, bread, fruit, fruit, juice, juice, meat, meat, rice, rice, cereal, cereal, milk, milk, coffee, coffee, tea, tea. Okay? And you have next, what do you have? Look at the picture. Soup, soup, salt, salt, flour, flour, sugar, sugar, butter, butter, cheese, cheese, honey, honey, water, water, chocolate, chocolate, jam, jam, seafood, seafood, mustard, mustard. Okay, here student, you have learned nouns, countable nouns and uncountable nouns, right? Here, there be. Students, do you remember there is and there are? Yes, do you remember? There is and there are. When we use there is and when we use there are, there is we use for singular, do you remember? And also, there are for plural. Here, student, notice here. Also, there is we use for uncountable nouns. Here, look at that. Look at the map. For uncountable noun, how? Here, because you have uncountable noun. Mention uncountable noun: water, salt, sugar. Okay? Here, example. There is water, hay agua. There is sugar. Yes, hay azúcar. It's uncountable noun. You don't say 1 water, 2 water, 3 water. You don't say. You don't say 1 sugar, 2 sugar, 3 sugar. Only you mention there is water, there is sugar. Hay agua, hay azúcar. Yes? And also we use there is for singular countable nouns. Do you remember the last class? There is an apple. Hay una manzana. There is a dog. Hay un perro. Now, there are, for plural, countable nouns. Remember, student, all countable noun has plural. All countable noun has plural. Yes, but no uncountable. Uncountable noun, you don't have plural. Yes? Now, example. There are 2 computers. Hay 2 computadoras. There are 5 oranges. Hay 5 naranjas. There are some students. Hay algunos estudiantes. Student, observe here. Observe. When you know the quantity, you can say there are 5, 4, 7, 10, 20, 30. Okay? But when you don't know the quantity, cuando usted no sabe la cantidad, va a utilizar el some. Pero cuando usted sabe, menciona la cantidad. Okay? For example, there are 5 oranges because you know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oranges. But if you don't know how many oranges, cuántas naranjas, only you say there are some. Okay? In Spanish, some means algunos. Okay? Algunos. Some. There are some students. Also, students, there are some. Okay? Some we use for affirmative sentences. Okay? Look at that. There are some students. Some go in affirmative, no in negative. There are some students. Some for affirmative sentences. Here, let's check again. Do you remember, student, article? Do you remember? We have a and an. We use for singular countable nouns. We use for singular countable nouns. We use for singular countable nouns. Okay? For example, remember when we use a plus consonant sound. Look at the example. There is a bottle on the table. And before a vowel sound. There is an apple on the table. There is an apple on the table. Next, you have some, any. Some, any. You use for plural countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Again, students. Countable noun, you have plural, but uncountable noun, you don't have plural. Here, student, look at here, pay attention. Some and any you use for both. Some y any van a utilizar ustedes para ambos, tanto para los sustantivos contables y para los sustantivos incontables. Para ambos lo van a utilizar, porque cuando vamos a crear oraciones obviamente nos encontramos con los sustantivos contables y con los sustantivos incontables. Por lo tanto, ambos se utilizan para contables e incontables. Ahora observen, chicos, observen cuando utilizamos el some y el any. It's important for you, right? Okay, again, I mentioned before, okay, some we use for affirmative, okay? Some we use for affirmative. There is some cheese in the fridge. There is some cheese in the fridge. Student, what do you understand with the first some? There is some cheese in the fridge. You use some. There is, because what happened with the cheese? The noun cheese is uncountable noun. You don't say 1 cheese, 2 cheese, 3 cheese. You don't say that. You only say, I guess so. There is, okay, there is some cheese. Hay algo de queso. Por no decir algo, hay queso decimos. There is some cheese. Okay, there is some cheese in the fridge. Affirmative, you use some. Because cheese is uncountable, you put there is, because it's for uncountable noun. Now, for negative, what happens for negative? For negative, student, you use any. Any. Some in Spanish means algunos, algo. Any in Spanish means ninguno, nada. Okay? Now, there isn't any cheese in the fridge. There isn't any cheese in the fridge. Any we use for negative. And also any we use for questions. Okay? Is there any cheese in the fridge? Is there any cheese in the fridge? If you need to answer, then here you have to answer. If in affirmative answer, you use yes, there is. In negative, no, there isn't. Okay? Now, you have here an example for test one. Write in a, an, some, or any. Okay, mix, right? Remember we use a for a plus consonant sound. We use an plus vowel sound. Remember we use some for affirmative sentences, any for negative sentences and questions. Also, some and any you use for countable nouns, okay, for plural countable nouns, okay. Any also you use for, okay, for countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Some you use for plural countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Any you use for plural countable nouns, only that, and also any you use for uncountable nouns. Remember, uncountable noun you don't have plural, only you have plural for countable nouns. ¿Ok? Solo tenemos, como les mencioné anterior, plural para los sustantivos contables. Y para los sustantivos incontables, en este caso, no hay plural. En realidad no podemos decir, por ejemplo, uncountable noun, you have sold. Sal, no vas a decir sales. No, sold, sal, sal. Okay? Okay, let's start. Number one. Oh, student, it's a question. Is there, okay, is there what? Is there any milk in the crystal glass? Is there any milk in the crystal glass? Okay, next, no, there isn't any milk in the crystal glass. Next, there is some juice in the crystal glass. Next, are there questions? Any sausages on the round plate? There aren't some or any. Any, because it's negative. There aren't any sausages in the round plate. There are some, because it's affirmative, some sandwiches on the round plate. Next, questions. Is there, oh, you have here, oh, space. You use here some, any, or a, or and. Is singular? Yeah, singular. Is there a glass on the wooden table? Is there a glass on the wooden table? No, there isn't a glass on the wooden table. Yes? And the last one is, there is a cup on the wooden table. Okay? There is a cup on the wooden table. You have the answer. Okay? Check your answer again. Okay, yes? Did you check the answer? It's correct. Okay, next one. Okay, it's correct here. Again, you use a, and, some, or any. But in these sentences, only you found a, no a. Okay? Now, student, continue with countable and uncountable noun. Yes, we have eggs. Repeat, please, after me. Eggs. Eggs. Again, eggs. Banana. Olive. Fries. Burger. Hot dog. Apple. Carrots. Tomatoes, watermelon, uncountable, milk, flour, salt, sugar, jam, meat, rice, honey, tea, and cheese. Okay? It's important, student, you have to memorize, okay? Memorize countable and uncountable for your sentences. Yes? Now you have sentences, student, affirmative and negative. Uncountable, countable now. For example, there is some used for uncountable noun. Okay? Check, student, check this one. There is some you use for uncountable noun. There isn't any sugar pieces. Okay, what happened when it's negative? You use okay, first of all, there is some is for affirmative. Any is for negative. There isn't any sugar. Yes. Affirmative, there is some sugar in the glass. There is some sugar in the glass. Student, I just say, there is some sugar in the glass is affirmative. Okay? Because affirmative, you use some. When it's negative, there isn't, you don't use some. You have to use any. There isn't any sugar. Okay? Any. Instead of some, you use any. Next, there are some countable noun for countable noun. Yes. There aren't, for example, there aren't any chairs. There aren't any chairs. Negative. Affirmative, there are some chairs in the dining room. There are some chairs in the dining room. Students, do you remember when I mentioned some is because, for countable noun, is because you don't know the quantity. Cuando ustedes utilizan el some y no saben la cantidad, es porque no saben la cantidad, vamos a utilizar el some. Pero si ustedes saben la cantidad, van a colocar, por ejemplo, 4, 5. Por ejemplo, there are 5 chairs. Ya no van a colocar some. Pero si no saben, solo colocan some. No ponen la cantidad. ¿Ok? Recordamos que el some y el any se utiliza para ambos tipos de sustantivos, tanto como contable y incontable. Y el some se utiliza para las oraciones afirmativas, any para las negativas y preguntas. Es muy importante estar atento a este tipo de gramática. Okay? It's important, student. And also, you need to practice with some sentences. Practice, student. Practice at home. And write sentences. And using here the countable noun or uncountable noun. You have vocabulary here, student. Countable, uncountable, and related to the food. Okay? Here again, you have there are and there is. More example. There is a tomato in the bowl. Affirmative, singular. There isn't a tomato in the bowl. Negative, singular. There is some water in the glass. Students, some water, because you use some because water is uncountable noun. And use some. There isn't any water in the glass. Observe, student, you use some for affirmative. En the same sentence, en la misma oración, estoy utilizando primero como el afirmativo y luego como el negativo. Como cambié, ¿no? Si con esa, luego lo pasó a any. There isn't any water in the glass. Next one. There are some tomatoes in the bowl. There are some tomatoes in the bowl. Okay? This is for affirmative. Plurals. There aren't any tomatoes in the bowl. There aren't any tomatoes in the bowl. Okay, negative, because I use aren't and you have to use any. Yes, it's negative, aren't, you use any. Are there any tomatoes? Are there any tomatoes? Because you use any, it's a question. That's a question. Are there any tomatoes in the bowl? Interrogative form. Yes, there are. No, there aren't. Another question. Is there any water in the glass? Any for question. Any used for uncountable noun. Any used for countable noun. Next, answer them. Answer them. Yes, there are, or yes, there is. What is the answer? Yes, there are, or yes, there is? Or no, there is? What is the answer? Is there any water in the glass? What do you choose, student? Yes, there are. No, there is. Yes, there is some water, or yes, there is any. What is the answer? The answer is, yes, there is some water. Yes, there is some water. Or maybe it's possible to answer, says, yes, there is. Okay? Also, you can use affirmative. Yes, there is some water, or yes, there is. Affirmative. Negative, no, there isn't. Such. There are 25 tomatoes in the bowl. Student, here you measure the quantity. Aquí está mencionando la cantidad. Yo no estoy colocando some, estoy colocando la cantidad. Por lo tanto, utilizo por there are 25 tomatoes in the bowl. No estoy utilizando el some. Y si fuera some, quito la cantidad y coloco some. There are 25 tomatoes in the bowl. Okay, student, let's practice, right? Look and complete the sentences. Look at the picture and then. There, space, chocolate. What is the answer? Look at the picture. Affirmative or negative? There isn't any chocolate. Okay, there isn't any chocolate. Next one. Affirmative or negative? Any answer? There are some carrots. Okay, there are some carrots. Okay. Next one. What about cheese? Look at the picture. Okay. There is some cheese. Okay. Now, again, check the picture. There. The answer. Yes, there aren't any apples. I can see apples. There aren't any apples. Next one. There is some meat. Of course, there is some meat. Next one. What about? There are some bananas. Okay? There are some bananas. Of course, student. Congratulations. Next. Okay, you have practice. Yes, practice. Write there is, there isn't, is there are, there aren't, and are there. Okay? Yes. Here you have. Number one, Springfield isn't an old town. There aren't any old buildings. Look. Okay, check student, and then I show the answer. Okay? Okay. Look, there is a picture of your brother in the newspaper. Yes? Number three, excuse me. Check. Look at the answer. Excuse me, is there a bank near here? It's a question. ¿Hay un banco cerca de aquí? Yes, aquí hay una bank. Next one, number four. Yeah? Okay, there are 5 people in my family. My parents, my 2 sisters, and me. Number 5 is a question. How many students? How many means cuántos. ¿Cuántos alumnos? Okay? You have to complete as a question. Are there or is there? Remember students for plural? What? Are there? How many students are there in the class? 20. Yes, that's correct. Number 6. Can we take a picture? No. The answer? Any film the camera. No, there isn't any film the camera. Okay, it's correct. Now, number 7. Okay. I have, is there a bus downtown from the airport? Yes, every 20 minutes. Okay, 8 questions. Are there any problems? No, everything's okay. 9. Okay? Yes, there is nowhere to sit down. No hay lugar para sentarse. Then we have, no, there aren't any chairs. No, there aren't any chairs. Okay, it's really interesting that you have learned the use of there is and there are, okay, for singular, plural, and also the use of some and any. Okay? Okay, so it's important you have to practice as much as possible as we want to learn. So, that's all for today, students. Bye-bye. Take care.